Hello, hello, hello to all of those out there in the multiverse. So, today we are being joined by three awesome people who have helped me through a lot of shitty feelings throughout the past couple of years. So, we have a good mate of mine called Sam, who I have worked with for quite a couple of years now. And then we have Peter and Harry, who have also I've met along the way through Sam. So let's greet them. So here we have Sam Weeks, who is a director. We have Peter Woolley, a writer, an artist, an all-round general crew member, and we have Harry Coleman, who is a writer and a photographer. So, hey boys, how are we doing?
Oh, well, thank you. All good, Seb.
So,
Hi.
How do you feel about doing a podcast? I'm assuming this is probably your first?
First podcast? Yeah, for myself.
Yeah, it's my first, yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great. Good to be on the Bash Man show.
Yes. So, as he's just said, welcome back to another episode of the rather late programme with Bash Dinsmore and these three lovely people. So yeah, feel comfortable. Hope you're all good. Let's start off with how we all met, because I have a feeling it's all going to be linked through Sam. So I'm just going to grab that. Oh.
Me, several weeks.
Right. So yeah. So I met Sam. God, 2016, 2017.
I think it was 2016, yeah.
2016, and I started doing film stuff for you in 2017, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I met you at my gym.
Yeah, that was a funny story, because so I do, lots of corporate videos and films. So the corporate videos I use to fund my movies. And at this moment in time, Seb was working in this particular gym I was filming in.
Yes.
And I don't know how we got into it, but we started talking about acting because I started out as an actor before I became a filmmaker. And I just sort of thought, Seb was a nice guy. I got along with him very well, and I thought I've got to get this guy in one of my movies. So I got him in sort of a little piece, which was called The Beast, which was like a little test project, because at that moment in time I had just got this new camera, so I wanted to test it out on something. So I brought in Seb for that movie, didn't I, Seb?
Yeah, and I had a great time. It was the first time I actually did any improvisation on a film, so yeah, that was great for me.
But there were some quite funny bits, weren't there, Seb, during that film?
There were some funny days. There were some great bits. I got attacked by a beast.
Well, yes. So there was a scene where Seb's character is sort of meant to be one of these sort of generic but fun to make horror films about camping, and we'll actually get into that later on, because a film that we did recently was like a redoing of that on a more professional scale. But with this film, it was more or less because I had this great new camera, this Ursa Mini Pro, and I wanted to do some stuff with it. And there's a scene where, because Seb really likes Scotland, so I thought, well, why not make him? Yeah, why not make him Scottish? And so we made him a Scottish character, and we wanted him to be.
And that came through into the next one.
Yeah, but in this one we wanted him to be sort of like big and bolshy, a bit sort of like, oh, I've had enough of this and I've had enough of that. And there was there was a really funny scene where he's supposed to see this creature, this big animal that comes out of the woods, and his only response is bollocks, or something, and then
it was
he
a
gets
great last
chewed up.
line, I have to say.
But what ended up happening is when we shot it, so I used to have a big sort of golden retriever crossed with a poodle dog, and he was like, because Seb basically what he would do is he'd clamber back into his tent and then slightly jerk it around so that when we edit it, it looks like something has like pulled at his tent. But what ended up happening was my dog was curious and thinking, well, what's this movement in this tent? And he jumped on the tent and started semi-attacking Seb, not in a vicious way, but like a more curious dog, what is in this tent?
Yes, Murphy did become the beast.
And on the take, I just can't stop laughing, and you can hear Seb going, I'm a bit stuck in here.
Yeah, I was being attacked by Murphy, and it was a funny thing afterwards, but during I was like, oh my god, please get me out of here. But going back over how we met in the gym, I remember I was made by whoever was my boss at the time to go and give you a cup of coffee or a tea or whatever. And then at the time I was in sixth form doing creative media as one of my subjects, and I just randomly said, yo, so you've got a camera, does that mean you've done film stuff at school, you've done creative media? And then that's how we started talking about it. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm an actor too, and that's how I sort of joined in the One Mind Media gang. Moving on to Peter, we met on... Well, I think we met just before Skinwalker.
It was...
Or was it the day of auditions?
Yes, it was. So
I met both of you on the same day, actually. You and Harry.
That's right. Yeah. We were for this short film we were making called Skinwalker. We were holding auditions at Sam's house for two of the characters. I think there were supposed to be more as well. But
it was a funny process. Sorry for cutting you off there, Peter. But it was a funny process because it wasn't. It was more like I knew that they were going to play these characters, but I didn't. I still wanted to audition them to see if they'd suit. So, and this was the first time I met Peter actually, because with Peter, I got contacted by him just out of the blue. Because he knew somebody who I previously worked with, and I met him.
I thought he wanted to murder you. Oh, okay.
No, he didn't. No. But sometimes I think he does.
If you see the beard, you get my reasoning. I'm joking.
But yeah, so that's sort of how me and Peter met, and I met Harry because I can't just do corporate film work as well to fund my movies. So I met Harry at this cafe, and I brought both him and Peter onto this film Skinwalker, and that's where they first met, right, Pete?
Yeah,
that's right. So so we met on that day of auditions. It was a fun day actually because
that was a fucking funny day. I have to say.
We got Seb to do a bit of a few improv scenes with one of our other actors called George, and we recorded those, and they turned out to have really great chemistry together, as you will no doubt remember, Seb.
Yeah, from what I remember though, it didn't start off that great though, because I was over pronunciating certain words with this voice. My pen's just covered my hand.
I think you were a bit too English on the first one, so I just went, make him Scottish.
You're like, so my English accent was over-pronunciating a lot of words, and or over-pronouncing a lot of words. So in the end, I think we figured out that I had more... Like if one of us, George, was blank-faced, vacant, and the other one was a bit louder... the jockman who's angry and less that the louder person it had better chemistry than when I was just English and we were both sort of the same level, which I found made more comedy when we were doing certain improv scenes. But yeah, you guys were introduced to me as the two writers of the film, which is fucking funny to me, because only one of the lines in the screenplay remained in the film in the final version.
One original
None of Peter's lines, and only one of Harry's, which occasionally happens in films, people. So, certain things happen, but I find funny, because most of the time some form of the screenplay is in there. However, Yeah, so you two were introduced to me as two writers of the film. Let's just go through your process of writing it, because one of you started it off and then one of you finished it. Did you communicate to each other for finding, information about a certain bit, or was it all through Sam that you got the information from?
Do you want to start this, Harry?
Yeah. I mean, we had a rough idea of what Sam wanted after meeting him. He talked us through a fairly generic plot line at the start, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And me and Peter took, an end each and ran with it. I think, what did I start, Peter?
Yeah, Harry took the first half and I took the second half. So we went off independently and worked on our own sort of halves of the film, and then had to sort of put them together and make edits so that they actually fit together, and then we had a complete script after that was all edited properly.
And how long did it take you to come up with the full script once you two had worked together?
Is it a month? Couple of months?
Couple of months?
Yeah, I feel like it was quite quick.
It was really quick.
Script, yeah.
That either shows great writing or not great writing.
I feel like it was like 3 weeks, because I remember thinking you got it done quite quickly.
You're right.
It was quite quick.
Which means you must have had a lot of information of Sam, or were you just really immersed in that world and just focused on those characters and their motivations?
Well, Sam had when Sam was younger, he'd made a sort of an amateur version of this film already, so we were already adapting it from that.
This was like the third
on my
version of
DFE
it, wasn't it?
trip.
Yeah, this was like the third version, and
Yeah,
I was in the
exactly.
second one.
So we had a lot to go off already, actually, which was good.
Yeah, which is great.
Really.
I'm curious, because I'm a writer myself now, and I'm starting to become a bit more professional with my writing. So I'm just curious, hearing from you two who have already done a lot of professional stuff. So is it easier for you to start it or finish it in the sense of a film screenplay? Because for me, it's like the hardest thing is the middle, to keep the plot going in the middle of it, and finishing it and starting it is easy. But for you guys, what do you think is the hardest bit in the play or screenplay?
Harry?
Yeah. You're right, Seb. I think the hardest part is building to the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I speak for myself, but a lot of my best stories come from the endings. Like all murder mysteries, really.
Twists and stuff.
At the end of the plot, and the hardest part is making the building blocks to work towards that. Of course, when you're writing a script with someone else, you've only got half the building blocks and an ending. I'm not sure if you felt the same, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, the middle is probably the most challenging part, because it's you need to sort of it's the part where you have to kind of keep the momentum going from the start to the end. The start and the end are the most kind of I suppose exciting moments to actually work on, and then the middle is probably the most challenging part because of that sort of that challenge you have with keeping the momentum going for it.
So, just keep talking about the writing for a second longer, because I'm interested in that sort of stuff. Firstly, with Harry, did you feel any sense of you... Because I'm guessing the story came from Sam and you were just writing dialogue.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So I was just going to ask if you ever had the feeling of, I'm not finishing this screenplay. How the fuck is it going to finish? Like, did you worry about how one of your big film scripts is going to be changed by someone else? Like, everyone's dynamics could change potentially due to another writer.
Of course. But that's a risk you always take with script writing. It's never a one-man procedure in film or television or anything with a budget. There will always be revisions. We're working closely with Sam. It's his vision.
Yeah.
And I'm only words to that.
Sure.
Of course, I can't get inside Sam's head. So yeah, there will be revisions, and that's something you have to open yourself up for.
Yeah.
It's a really hard part of the creative procedure, because you know that something you create isn't necessarily going to be yours.
Sure.
A few months down the line.
Yeah, no.
I think with someone else on that helped that slightly.
Yeah.
You know, I was writing my dialogue, but I knew that I really had to specify it to character and know that it could change and write it in a malleable way.
Sure. And
So it didn't make it necessarily harder. If anything, it made it easier.
okay, fair enough. And yeah, no, I was just gonna say fair enough. I just asked because feeling like that, because as a writer now, you know, I don't really know that yet because I haven't shared many of my scripts with other writers yet. I'm starting to, but not as of this moment. And, you know, for me, it's all been, you know, if anything that I've written, it's all been me, and I'm like, right, you go and record what I've written, and that's final. Whereas I was once, much like Skinwalker, I was on a short film, called Hollow Earth, the Bone Quill, which is based off a book series. And that was my second short film I ever did. And the original first draft was nothing like the final screenplay, and everything apart from certain storyline was changed. So I suppose that's what happens with writing with other people, because there were 3 screenwriters on that. And the same thing for Peter. Did you ever have a sense of, oh shit, what am I getting from this first half of this screenplay? How the fuck am I going to write from, you know, Harry's story so far?
Yeah, initially I did, because it is quite difficult to come up with an ending when you don't know what the start is.
Sure.
But ultimately, I just kind of, once I'd sort of got over that psychological hurdle, it wasn't too difficult, because I just thought, you know, I'll just do whatever, and then once I've read his, I can just change stuff to make it fit anyway. So
you also had the original footage to help you as a guiding.
Sure.
Used to work with.
Yeah.
So it seemed at first it seemed like it was going to be more challenging than it turned out to be, I think.
Sure. Swiftly moving onwards, because we'll go back to those films later. Lockdown. You are the first group call podcast that I've done, and the third online call that I've done for the podcast show. What are you guys feeling? Are you all right? You going doolally? Like, what's going on with you guys? You crazy? You ready to leave? You want freedom? Freedom! What are you feeling, man?
Why don't you take this first, Sam?
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, at the beginning, I felt quite okay. I mean, usually if something happens, I tend to sort of feel like, okay, I should just sort of get on with it, make the best out of it. And something that I did start to think is, well, everyone's always complaining whenever, you know, I'm at work or anyone's at work. Everyone's always like, oh, I don't get any time to myself, I don't this and that. And
this
now
is the great British problem.
and now that we have this, yeah, exactly. And now that we have this, we have time.
We're complaining again.
We're complaining. You know what? Just enjoy yourself. Make sure you get plenty of exercise. Enjoy the summer. Sun. Well, it seems like summer right now. I mean,
oh my god, it is.
With all the heat.
For me, I am dying. There is no cloud in the sky for me. I am dying. You can see my red face on the camera, guys. I'm dead.
But yeah, that's my honest opinion. But in terms of myself, you know, I was just all I'm really doing is just sort of. I had a lot of stuff on the sideline that I needed to finish.
I was gonna ask, how pissed off were you at the start, especially considering you had done only one day of your new project, and then fuck lockdown. We are.
Well, it depends, Mr. Dinsmore. Do you want to save that till later on when we talk about sets, or you want me to talk about it now?
Well, whichever. If you feel you can keep the lockdown bit of it done, and then talk about the project more fully later on.
I'll talk about the down part of it.
Yeah.
So basically, I'll talk about it later on in the podcast. But I over these past couple of years, my biggest film that I've ever done, Home Fires, which was a World War One film, we put out in the cinema, and that gained a lot of good, attention from several different people.
Premiere, and I loved on the film.
Yeah, we premiered it at Blue Water in the cinema there in Showcase. So it was a great event. But for my next film, which is called Steps, I now have all these new contacts that I made through that film. So I was very excited to get into it. And we did one day, just about made it, and well, at least we did one day, but now we have to be postponed for the next sort of, I don't know, however long this is until it's over.
I feel like it would, May at least, maybe.
Yeah, I think May, yeah.
Yeah, quite a while.
But to be fair, it's good because it means that I can, sit down, review the footage and go through, like, for example, Peter has written a new little sequence for me that I thought would just be a good idea to shoot. So, it gives us time to maybe do a little more planning than we would have done. So it's got its pros and it's got its cons, but most of the time I think about, I just want to get back to this film because it takes so long to get inspiration, especially after you're slightly burnt out from the last film. So, like Home Fires, I won't go too far into it unless you want to mention it later on, but I'll just say it took 2 years to make. So I was quite burned out, and it took so long to find inspiration for my next movie. And as soon as I found it, well, seems like the world's taken a break. Okay, that's fine.
Well, if I'm right in saying you did have a mini sort of hiatus, you had a mini break to yourself for a couple of months or weeks, or...
Well, I did, but at the same time, like, it was really something that was a bit hard for me, if I'm honest, because...
Sure.
If you're... It's literally...
Same for me, I'm not used to sitting doing nothing. Yeah, I'm always either writing or doing something, so...
Yeah, exactly. So when I sit down, I feel like, I in my past life I was a filmmaker that didn't make it, and so now I have to make it in this life, because that's all I think about is films.
One shouldn't leave this life without a sense of completion, which is what my gran always said.
Yeah, I'm crazy for films, so that's all I think about. And so when someone says you need a break, which I did, I just sort of think, okay, I'll sit down. What will I do? I'll watch a film.
And get inspiration for the next film.
Yeah, it's almost like even if you're relaxing, you can't get it out of your head because you're just like, I'm going to come home where the TV is on, and that might give me inspiration.
Man, yeah, 100%. Harry, how are you feeling with COVID?
Oh,
you pissed that you're locked in? You want to go out? What's your trouble?
Oh yeah, man, I want to go out so bad.
I feel you want what I want. I want to go out into a pub garden and have some sesh with the boys.
A nice cold cider. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've been known to take 4-hour walks.
But
just so I'm out. I've got
one. Best mates are out there with machine guns and their helicopters, right? They're looking for you, Harry.
The road, ring the police.
Oh mate, I was saying this to my mate that he went out, but he basically went out for 24 hours of the day, and I was like, look, your one activity of outside of the house. That should not be 24 hours.
I've had a good mind just to ride my bike to a field somewhere and just take a picnic, have a chill out.
Oh, someone was doing that in town, actually. I had to go and collect my granddad's glasses and my older brother's contacts, and they were just chilling, vibing with a picnic to themselves on the green. And I was like, yo, you're going to get shot.
As long as you're alone though, my dude, they can't stop you yet.
Not yet. Yeah, God. Peter, how are you feeling?
Well, yeah, it's a mixed bag. I mean, what I've been hearing a lot of people saying is that they're really bored during this period, and I haven't really found that. I've actually been quite busy.
I've been more productive. I've been writing a lot more stuff.
So am I, but so that hasn't been a problem. But what has been a problem is not being able to go out anywhere.
No spoons, Peter.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's the main issue. So that's getting a bit tiresome.
Sure.
So it's a mixed bag. It's more productive on one side of things, but less so on the other. And obviously, no one likes being cooped up inside. So
yeah, no, 100%. What are we all feeling about Bozza? He's in the ICU. Poor fucker.
Bojo. He's lost his
Big
mojo.
Bozza. I mean, I have to say I love the man because he's such a character. But
Well,
man, I'll be so sad if we lose Bozza. He is so fucking funny. I remember when he tackled that Asian kid in that.
I was going to
game.
say,
yeah. Yeah.
Get knocked down, I get back up again.
And I remember once in London there was the BBC going around asking foreign people on their holidays about their favourite British comedy, and they went to Trafalgar Square and asked this German guy. They were like, "Ah, sir, what do you think about British comedy?" And this guy just turned around and he was like, "Oh, I like the big guy with the blonde wig. He plays the Mayor of London. Boris Johnson." And the cameraman had to turn the camera away and whisper to the mic guy. He was like, "That's the proper Mayor of London. That's Bozza." And then they were like, "Oh no, that's the actual Mayor of London." And this German guy's face went from and just walked away. I just thought that was so fucking funny.
You have to send me that one.
Oh man, I love that shit.
So maybe it's not listening to the nurses wanting more.
Yeah.
Not cutting. No more cuts for nurses.
True. Yeah, the NHS, doctors, GPs, nurses, and all, junior doctors as well. They are doing such an amazing job in this time, and my heart and gratitude and thanks go out to them. Which is, it's not an easy task, because even though they may think it's just another day at work for them, of course they're going on the front lines if they're in the COVID ward and risking themselves, and then when they have to go home they might have to risk their family members or whatever. So it's not an easy task. Anyways, moving on to slightly less gloomy topics. Let's talk about home fires, which I'm sure I think we were all involved in that.
Less gloomy topics. The First World War.
Well, it was a film. It was a film, Peter. Let me remind you, it wasn't actually the Somme, although it did feel like it. On my first cameo, I was covered in mud. And I just remember Dan Ellis taking a picture of my face with that burn makeup. And
yes.
He was just like,
the man.
Shit. And I showed that to my mum and dad, and my dad was like, "Oh, that reminds me of my time in the army." And my mum was like, she was scared shitless. She couldn't sleep for a night.
Oh really? Wow, I did a good job of that then.
She genuinely saw red paint and hair gel and stuff like that as proper scary shit. So it was good makeup, I have to say, even though I hate the makeup tray with a passion.
Thank you.
And I've gotten away with it.
Story there.
Oh God, those bagpipes, fuck me. We'll get to them.
We'll get to those.
Yeah. So home fires. I think we all worked on that, didn't we? Was Harry part of home fires?
Unfortunately, Harry wasn't, because that was before I knew Harry.
Harry, who sold your merchandise?
Oh yes. Well,
yeah,
but
she
not
sold
in
me
the
the
actual
DVD.
film, but on the premiere.
Harry was part of post.
Yeah.
Harry was part of post. We'll try and keep this bit. I mean, I was going to say we'll try and get this as fast as possible, but it's probably the biggest film, so sorry, Harry. You might be silent for a bit. Unless you prefer that. So, home fires. Peter, you... I I'm not sure because I haven't really talked to you about it that much. But in terms of acting, I'm assuming this is one of your bigger roles. I know that you've been extras on things like we all have, but I'm assuming this has been your biggest sort of part so far, being the interviewer.
Like you said, I've been an extra on a couple of things in the past, and
So you know how things work.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been a sort of, I don't know how you describe the role. I've been sort of in between actor and extra as well, where you have to do a bit of acting, but it's not in a very long scene, and there's no real dialogue or anything. You just have to give like close-up facial reactions and stuff. But this was the first thing I've ever been in that actually has proper dialogue.
Sure.
So yeah, it was the first, because I'm not actually an actor. I'm more a crew member and a writer. So it was interesting to get a bit of experience on the acting side of things, since it's not my area of it's not the area I'm into. So I enjoyed doing it actually.
Sure. What was it like working with Colin?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, Colin's a nice guy. The funny thing is, on that day, obviously I was, I was playing a role, but I was also helping Sam out on the crew side of stuff as well. So I was sort of going back and forth between stuff behind the camera and sitting in front of it. So, and I had to interact with Colin both as a crew member and as an actor as well, which was an unusual kind of dynamic, I suppose. But no, he was a lovely man. We filmed that in his house, the scene I'm in.
Yes, I was told that. That was it's a good little setup he's got. I like it. Yeah,
it is, and so he was very generous with allowing Sam and I to move his furniture around and stuff to make a new set, to film the scene in, and he was. No, he's a lovely guy. Worked with him a few times on other stuff as well. Yeah, great.
And he's had fame, hasn't he, in Gangs of New York?
Yes, that's right.
His starring role as
well, he was an activist. So I mean, how I met Colin was through the main star of that movie, Harry. He because I basically, I mean, we can get to it maybe later.
I'm sorry. When you say Harry, you mean Harry Wells?
Harry Wells, yes. Sorry, the main star of the actor was. This was a different Harry, and I was looking for someone to play an older version of the main character. He said, "Well, I know someone." I said, "Okay."
And he was the main character in Home Fires, not in Gangs of New York. I'm just clarifying that.
Yeah, well, in Gangs of New York, he played it was like an activist, so he's shouting about how he hates the Irish. Which is quite funny because I'm a quarter Irish and I was directing him on Home Fires.
Just to clarify for the people listening, because you said, and the main character of that film, and I was like, Harry's not the main character in Gangs of New York, is he?
No, I said Harry Wells, main character of Home Fires.
Sure. So he's the main character of Home Fires. And I'm not sure about you guys, but he did an amazing job for what he was doing. And from what I've heard, he was there almost every day of the shoot, which is unheard of. I know a lot of people who have to cancel all the time, and because I know you're trying to keep your One Mind Media stuff a bit more professional than I do my stuff, but I always try and get someone who's always saying, I can't do that day, let's push it back. And I'm like,
yeah, it's always good to find people who will actually do what they say they're going to do. I think when you're making a film, it's just not right to have someone who's going to let you down. And also that says a lot about the person, actually.
Sure.
I'd much rather work with people who are nice and can work really well and will also show up, rather than someone who might be very good but is a total diva and won't show up, because then you get schedule problems and then there's no need for making the film in the first place. Everyone needs the right amount of inspiration. You all need to love the projects you're on, otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah. And they gotta love the projects they're on at the moment, because they're not getting paid for it. So Home Fires, it was, in my opinion, it's the biggest thing you've done so far. In terms of everything, from my opinion. How different has it been to do a piece that's been set in a particular time, whereas, you know, a couple of the other films like Skinwalker is more or less in the present day, so you didn't have to get, you know, World War II trenches made in your garden, or...
Well, I mean, I mean, would you like me to start from, you know, I won't go on too much, but start from the beginning? I mean, so this was during a time where, as I said, I got all this new equipment. I was fresh off of film school, and I wanted to do something that I thought was going to, and it has, luckily, but was going to sort of boost me a bit more, you know, so I get, you know, a little bit well known, and so people can see me, because, you know, I work with a few independent filmmakers now, and that's because of Home Fires, and that's what I wanted out of this film. But I also wanted to do something that was really different, because I always felt like whenever I would make a film previous to this, that, you know, I don't know, it's either in my garden or it's in a place that I know, and it's like, it would be great to just actually build my vision. Sure. So it's exactly how I want it to be. And another thing, I don't know why it was, but it was the anniversary of the Battle of the Somme.
I heard you said, yeah,
and I was, you know, it was just on the news for a brief second, and I watched this little news piece on it, and I heard about how a lot of these a lot of these soldiers in real life, like how they died and how horrible it was, and the conditions, and how some would drown in the mud, and I just thought, you know, that's something that is really hard hitting. And I really wanted to try and get that across. It inspired me almost, because also I am British, so I love that history. So I wanted to sort of try and do something like that with as much respect as possible to them. And it was really difficult. Like, there were times where I'd shoot a scene, and I felt like, maybe I should just stop it now and make it just a short film. But it might not have as much of an impact. But I kept going, and to start with, it was quite hard. I mean, I shot, because I did do a script for it, but I like to use my scripts as a blueprint, and then add upon. I'm very much an improv guy, and you know, we would shoot all these scenes that I thought came out really well in this farmland, and then I thought, well, now I have to make the rest of the movie equally as better or at the same quality level. So I found it very difficult. But you know, you just got to think about what you have. So I thought, well, I live in an area that has plenty of space. I know where I can get things. You know, there's a local home base. It may not, and I am telling the truth here, I don't think it's a particularly accurate film, but what I wanted to get accurate is the feeling, the emotion. Because I just don't, and you know, it's true, I just don't, and I didn't have the budget for all these big, expensive uniforms that were about 100 each. Bear in mind, I had to dress about 30 people in one scene, and I couldn't get all that stuff, so I had to work with what I had, but bear in mind, it still has some form of quality. It's not totally amateur.
It is amazing. And
we tried to make it look as real as possible, and I think the fact that we actually caked everyone in all this mud, so it would hide some of the inaccuracies of like uniform and such. But no, I mean, it was a huge learning curve, and I think the reason I got so many people involved, bear in mind, this was my first big film. I wasn't given millions by a company. It was all done by myself, and because I used to act, I know a lot of budding actors, and I have a lot of friends that I can sort of bring in, and they would love to be a part of it. So, you know, everyone did, well, I think as good as they could have, and I think the reason so many people joined in is because they all thought the same, is that this is a story that needs to be told about World War One.
100%.
So yeah, I mean, that's a story about it. And we had some great fun stories.
Oh my god, yeah, there were some great days. I came back a couple of times for different cameos. I think I made 2 or 3.
We brought Seb in a few times.
Before I was credited as Gas Mask Soldier, my soldier was going to be called Mud Soldier 1. And that was simply because I was being dragged through the mud.
It was because you were in mud, mate. You were a mud soldier. That's basically the icing on the cake. You don't say too much more than get back to the trenches or something. Or get your gas masks on.
I was surprised. I wasn't thinking I was going to get credited, to be honest, because cameos don't really get credited that much.
No, but you said a line, so Seb just about got a credit. So
one above the dog, or was I? Did you want? It was one of the two. I was either just above the dog or just below. I was probably just below. I was probably last.
Well, but what can you do?
Yeah, no, it was an amazing film. I've still got it on my laptop, which I watch occasionally, and I show it to quite a lot of my mates at uni and all that.
Did you want to talk about your days of filming, Seb? Or
I'll mention them briefly.
But when you were the dead body.
Yeah, I did a few cameos, and as I say, I show the film to a lot of my mates, and just before the lockdown, actually, I was on my final week of a musical, which got cancelled due to lockdown. But yeah, and I remembering that I was watching the part of the film in one of my breaks, because I wasn't doing the rehearsals for that couple of hours, so I was just chilling, and I forgot my earphones, so I had to play it quietly, but then it just wasn't loud enough for my ears, because I swear I'm going deaf. So I turned it up every 5 minutes. I was just turning it up. It got to 100% volume, and then all these people were like, "Why is someone screaming in the back?" Or "Why is there a bomb?" What's going on? And then they all gathered around my laptop, and they were like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" So yeah, the film is great, and I've still got the DVD on my shelf. Everyone loves it who sees it, mate. So it's 100% amazing, and the quality. I remember sitting at the premiere. Peter was on my right and Lydia was on my left, and at that moment of CG when it pans up towards on top of the trenches, I remember we were yanking each other's sleeves and we were like, "Holy shit, that's goosebumps! Oh my god!"
I love that shot, by the way. That's my favourite shot.
It was amazing.
There's one where it pans up, and it was half CG and half real from the trenches panning up over the battlefield. And we were actually quite lucky to get a CGI in to do the filming, to do the CG, the VFX. But the only problem is it took really long.
Briefly talking about my cameos. So I made a couple. I was the Gas Mask Soldier was my first cameo that I made, and I wore a gas mask and said, "Gas, put your gas masks on. Get back to the trenches."
In my garage as well.
And that was what I was going to move on to saying. So that was in the garage, which happened to be part of the dugout. Oh my god. I give props to your parents for just letting you deface their garage.
Well, afterwards they built a new one. That's why,
Oh my god. So they had this amazing garage, which was the dugout, and then the garden had the top of the trenches, and
so we actually built a sort of I can't remember how long in length, but it was an actual trench, so half of a trench in the garage, and so when you'd film it, it just would look like a trench. You wouldn't know it was in a garage. And what was good about having it inside as well is what we recently found out on some of our other films, that if you build something outside, unless it's made of steel, it's going to fly away. Sure. So even wood, it's going to collapse at some point if you just leave it out to the elements.
So that was my first one, which was the Gas Mask Soldier, and then I made a second one with Mr. Gifted and Talented Dan Ellis.
Yes.
which was a fun day, because even though I hate the makeup chair, I was caked in this burn sort of, all burns on my face, and I got a couple of great pictures out of it, so I was happy with it in the end, and I didn't hold a grudge. But yeah, no, that was. I feel so sorry for Lydia and Bethan having to drag this fat fuck of a man through the trench and just.
You're not fat, Seb. You're pleasantly
mate,
plump,
cheers.
mate.
You're too kind. Yeah, no. So this. So this is how it happened from my point of view. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I was there and you were like, right, you're dead. And I'm like, oh, cool. So if I'm dead, I don't have to do shit. So I just lied on the floor, dead, lump as fuck. And, you know, I was just lying there. And, and Bethan and Lydia are like, are you not actually going to help us move yourself? And I'm like, well, if I'm dead, you want to be realistic, right? Wait, Sam, you want to be realistic? Yeah. I'm not helping you for shit, ladies. And these two stunt women had to drag me through this trench, and because I was too big to fit through the back door, I they got to the end of the take, and like my legs were sticking out, and Sam's like, can we drag him out of shot fully? And they're like, no, he's too big. So I was just stuck there, and I was like, oh great, okay, great. And then we're like, right, 5 more takes, let's do it. And we did it quite a few times, and you know, every time these poor girls had to drag me, like every in-between take, we're like, oh my god, and just, you know, mate, it was funny for me, but at the same time I felt so bad. I was like, maybe I could have just kicked myself along the floor, but
yeah.
But
maybe
yeah.
I could have helped them, but nah,
maybe
not
I
really.
could have helped them, but I'm dead, so I'm not gonna bother. So yeah, that was a fun day. And then I made a final brief one in, you know, the big group scene on one of the 2 days at the weekend, when we were using the top of the trench, which was in your garden. Had a fun day on that. Didn't do
that was
too much.
quite an easy day for you.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. I didn't have too much to do that day. Just run a couple of times from one end to the other end of the tarpaulin.
Or do you want to talk about the stick? Because that was quite
Oh
funny.
my god, yeah. So I was holding, you know, whatever gun they had, a rifle.
It was a Lee Enfield rifle.
Sure. So I was holding this rifle, and then Sam was like, swap, give one of the other actors this rifle. And I was like, okay. And I gave it to him, and, you know, I found out later that it's because he was more of a main character, because he had a bit of screen time. So he actually did have a character. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. But
I mean,
was
here's
just
the thing,
like
wasn't it,
running
Seb?
with this stick at the end of this group of people. So I was like, well, I was trying to hold it like a rifle, but it didn't have the curved edge with, you know, so I was like, I might as well just hold it like a caveman and just try and whack people over the head with it.
I mean, the thing is so we had about 7 actors, and we had 6 Lee Enfield rubber rifles that we rented, and we just needed one extra person in the back. It was right at the back of the shot, so he would have been out of focus anyway. But you know, we were just like, well, we need something just so that when you look at the shot, it looks like he's got something there, even if it's a shape. So somebody was like, oh, give him this big stick. So he's looking like he's about to club someone.
Oh my god, I do have to say that I don't remember their names. I remember the faces, but I don't remember their names. But you asked a couple of the guys to hold the blue screen up at the back to stop it from falling over in the big winds that we had.
Unfortunately a windy day.
But all that I could hear before you scream action is these 2 guys talking about their lunch, and I'm just like, yo, we're going for a take, guys. Like, shut the fuck up, or you'll get in the, you know, whatever. And
well, yeah. I mean, we were using ADR, so maybe they thought they could talk.
Yeah, for sure. But I was like, so they're talking about their lunch. And then every 5 seconds, I felt, you know, pokes on my back through the blue screen. And I was like, oh my god! And, you know, you were like, you okay? And it was like, yeah, sure, pricks. And, you know, that day was funny. So, moving on to a film that we were all part of, Skinwalker, which I loved 100%, mainly because I met you two, Peter and Harry, because you guys are top legends, as they say, and yeah, no, all three of you have helped me through some tough times, so I have to say thanks to all of you. Yeah, so you two were the writers before we filmed. You two were the writers. I knew Sam was going to direct and be the overall project manager. But when we started filming, Peter was the sound guy, operating the boom, and Harry was around, being a boss man, doing what you do.
Yeah.
So let's start off with Harry and just basically tell people what you were doing on set, in and out.
Well,
because I wasn't there all the time that you were there,
Yeah.
and you weren't there all the time, so I don't really know too much about what you did on set.
I think the technical term, man, was runner from heaven.
Sure.
I did everything a runner does, but it was
100%.
holy.
Tea and coffee maker galore.
Oh, in coffees, I was churning out about 80 a day, not going to lie.
Oh my god.
Probably like...
Same
cut
with
back.
Joe, but with Siggy's, for that one take at night. But yeah, so... Nope, sorry, I seem to be cutting you off every time.
Alright.
Yeah,
Definitely
no,
one of my best moves, best place to put me, in the kitchen, making tea and coffee. Of course, me and Sam met at a coffee shop. Where else is he going to put me?
But
Actually, I remember you very kindly sort of asked to help at one point.
I did.
and then they abused the power.
They did. In fact, I felt sorry for Harry because sometimes extras, especially people who are wanting to be sort of big actors, they're just like, well, now I shall ask for several teas.
Yeah,
Poor Harry.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the fact that your parents didn't really want random kids going throughout your house. So
No, which is
I
why it was only
appreciate that
Harry.
fact. But yeah, I felt so sorry for Harry, who just had to. I saw him at one point run in and out like every 5 seconds, and I was like,
I think
"My
that was
God, the
only one
man's the
day.
Flash! Like, what's
It
going
was only
on?"
one day.
It was only one day. He did the clapper on some days as well, didn't you, Harry?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta love the clapper.
Holy clapper.
Get clapped.
I had that on lockdown.
Yeah. So for you, Harry, what was your favourite day on set? Probably a non-tea and coffee day, I'm assuming. But
No, it was the tea and coffee day.
I loved
but
that
it was
day
my favourite
because it had
because
everyone.
it was my favourite because I got a lot of cast member headshots,
Sure.
lots of kind of promo stuff on the camera.
Yeah. Did I also
yeah,
get any of me? 'Cause I need some new ones.
Yeah, I did get a couple. I'll send them across. So.
Oh, legend.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've got them
Sorry,
somewhere.
listeners, for me interrupting with. Oh, can I have some stuff?
Can I have 3 photographs?
Yeah, can I have a couple of photos? Yeah, so that was your favourite day, because you did a lot of headshots and you had fun. That was one of my favourite days, actually, because we had all the extras in the morning and, like, the main cast were shunned off into the garage on,
Yep.
with the chairs, and we just ran through some lines whenever anyone else got there. But, yeah, I had a great day. I made lots of new mates with some of the extras, I already knew one of the extras from school, so I was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And they were like, "Acting, apparently." And I was like, "Oh, man." And then, I made some new mates along the way. But yeah, and you guys were there with Dom and Kalen. I mean, to be honest, I never knew what Kalen did, but he was there. Dom was DOP extraordinaire. Sam was directing with his lovely, beautiful monitor, which I always have to flex and show.
Which now is wireless, so I'm very happy.
Oh my God, it's even better. And Peter was doing a great job as the sound guy. But I do have one particular memory from the morning part. I was asked by Sam, because none of the other main cast were there yet, so I was asked to go along with a couple of the extras who weren't doing anything in that scene and be part of like the behind the scenes stuff and just film some stuff behind the scenes. And I think all the crew were shouting at me and I couldn't hear Sam, so like Sam shouted at the crew and the crew shouted at me for him, and then I was like, what the bloody fucking hell does he want? And apparently Peter picked that up on the boom and everyone started laughing, and I was like, oh, sorry, didn't mean it, yeah, I'm coming. And you know, it's just like, fuck does he want now? And yeah,
well, because I recall that now. I think I wanted. I don't remember the crew shouting at you, but I remember some.
It was Peter and Dom, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Get out of the way, Seb! I'm just trying to get some nice B-roll for
yeah,
the
because I was
film.
down by your gate with the your car gate, and I was with Jenzy and one of her mates, and then all I hear is Seb, come here, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, Sam wants you, and I'm like, for fuck's sake, he's just asked me to come down. Fine, and I go up, and they were like, just go and chill in the garage and, you know, work on those lines. And I was like, you literally just asked me to go and take out the seats. Like, make up your mind.
Which, I know. I think that was all just a bit of miscommunication, if I'm honest.
Sure.
I mean, that was our first time working as a full crew.
Oh my god, yeah. But I enjoyed that day. The night shoot was great. That's when I first met the full cast, apart from George, who I met on the auditions. So shout outs to Scott, Natalie, and Joe, who I met all on the same day, I'm pretty sure. Because we did that night shoot out in front of the cars. And I felt sorry for Joe because it seemed like he was going to get lung cancer by the end of the day. And I mean, touch wood that he doesn't. But it was his choice, innit? Because you were like, do you want to stop? And he was like, nah, continuity, mate.
He smoked 8 cigarettes.
How many did he smoke? Does anyone count?
Weirdly enough,
He's on that. It was 8. He smoked 8 cigarettes in like under 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah,
just
under
over
30 minutes. He smoked 8 ciggies. Fucking.
And of course, Caleb was rolling cigarettes as the takes were going.
Yeah,
so
he was rolling. Was that his job? Was Caelan's job just to roll ciggies back behind the camera? Oh,
and of course,
if he hears this, he's going to shiv me, but it'll be fine, I'm sure.
Joe being such a man's man, he wasn't stopping smoking.
Oh no, he was like, continuity, mate. Anyone got any water? And just.
Well, that's the thing. He did that himself, and it wasn't until I think Peter said, he smoked about 7 or 8 every time the take. I was thinking, why didn't he just? Because we cut from different takes, so he didn't have to have a new one every single time.
Yeah. Sure.
We could have cut away to something else, but it was just.
He just wanted those 8 seconds. He had a long day.
I think the best part was him chundering in the toilet for
oh
about
my god!
40
Yeah,
minutes
do you remember the shouting match that Joe and some of the boys had over that hedge with some of the kids having the party, and he was just like, "Shut the fuck up! We're trying to film." And like,
I don't remember that.
Everyone's like, "Yo, they're kids. Relax." And it's oh my god!
A lot of pent-up anger in old Joe.
Oh my god!
Yeah. He's a nice guy. I like Joe.
Oh he's quite funny. I love him. And we had a good scene. I had some good dialogue stuff with George, which was good. I actually liked doing that because I got to slam open this door and sit in the car and slam it and say, "Fuck off."
You got to sit down for the 5th time that day.
I was like, God damn it, guys! I thought I was doing shit. Okay, I get to sit down again. But then was it the same night that we filmed my lovely drunk scene, leaning against the car? Was it? Yeah,
that scene. Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was the last thing we did.
And everyone was trying to rush and clean shit up.
Well, because it was so late, we had to do it very quickly.
Yes, I do have to say I owe Peter a lot for driving me home quite a lot.
No, it's alright.
Because, my dad works early and late, so he couldn't come and collect me, so I would have to walk home at like midnight or early hours of the morning. And,
and what was it you said to me, Peter, that there was quite a funny misunderstanding between you and Seb or something?
Oh my God, I think that... was it that time that I thought your car had broke down as soon as I got out of your car? Cause,
Could have been. It could have been.
so,
but Peter was like just eating a sandwich or something.
Yeah, it was pizza. So we... Peter dropped me home. And I got out of the car and got into my room, and I started finishing off whatever was on my laptop from earlier on in the day. And and I just suddenly look out the window and his car's still parked there. And I was like, that's been half an hour since I got out of the car. Shit, is he broken down? And I thought his front door was open and the lights were still on, and I was like, oh shit, is he broken down? Like, so I ran outside and I was like, Peter, you're not broken down, are you? Like, so I was basically saying, like, if you're broken down, just like come in and sleep on the sofa in the living room, like, because I would fucking hate it if he broke down after dropping me off. It would have been my fault. I would have been like, oh my God, I'm so
sorry. But then
sorry.
if you think about it, if he could have broke down if it was at the same amount of fuel in the middle of the road, you know, if he hadn't dropped you off.
Man, don't make me feel more anxiety about this shit. Like, yo.
Yeah, but to clarify, I was just stopped to eat some food.
Yeah. I went outside and you were munching on the pizza from earlier on. Yeah. And
He's just having a little snack.
yeah. I was like, Joe, you could come in the house, like, I could get you, do you want a tea? And he's just like, munching pizza, mate. And I'm like, oh, thank fuck. I was like, yo, I was going to feel so bad. I was like, we can work something out in the morning, you know. And you were like, oh, no, I'm just going to...
No, I was pretty, you know, it had been a long day by that point, so I was really, really hungry. I couldn't wait till I got home, so I had to just eat something there before I left.
But what I remember is I came back into my room, and as soon as I sat down, you sort of drove off immediately, because I was like, I thought it was because you were like, oh my God, what if he thinks I'm still here for another half an hour? Like, I'm not broken down, let's just drive around the corner.
It's just because I finished the pizza.
Perfect. So, Peter, what was your favourite day of Skinwalker for you?
There were a few good ones, but the one I think I enjoyed the most was it was one you weren't actually there for. That's not why I enjoyed it. But...
I am wounded. That hurts, man.
On his own podcast, Peter.
I am wounded. That hurts, man. That's cold. I'm joking,
we were shooting a scene in Sam's garage where
I
Colin...
thought you said something else for a second. I was like, you are what? Ah, well.
Can I ask what?
You are what?
Carry
on. Yeah.
Yeah, so
my garage.
We were shooting a scene in Sam's garage where the character Colin played. I can't remember if he had a name. He was just called the barman in it, I think, because he played a barman. Yeah. So essentially, we were shooting a scene where he was looking through lots of missing posters for all the characters had been taken off by this monster, and Sam has his little cameo in that scene, and he shows up dressed in, you know, all rotting flesh, decaying looking makeup, and they have a bit of a conversation about, you know, how Colin hasn't provided the Skinwalker with enough sort of human sacrifices and stuff. And then,
right.
And then the end of the scene is...
Did that cameo get taken out? Because I don't remember.
Yeah, that was a cut scene. Yeah,
taken out. Okay.
Yeah, so the end of the scene is that Sam eats Colin, and
Sam eats Colin. Right.
Yeah, and that was a fun scene to film, because what we had to do was Sam built this prosthetic pair of legs, and then I went out and got some tomato juice, and we just poured it all over the legs to look like blood, and so there was like a prosthetic half Colin on the floor for that scene, and it was quite an amusing day, really.
Yeah.
That was a different day, though. That was like split. So when I killed him, that was a night shoot, and when we did that day, that was the last ever day of shooting.
Oh, was it? Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah. But same sort of area though, same scene.
Yeah. It was the same. Yeah, the same kind of set piece.
Yeah.
Those legs.
Yeah.
Just quickly before we get on to Sam, because I'm aware of time. For both you and Harry, as writers of the original screenplay for this film, how did you feel when you were on set watching? Well, not your screenplay come to life, but the changes of that happening in front of you. So were you like, oh, I remember writing something like this. It's interesting to see how those actors performed it in this way. What was your Did you feel anything like that, or were you focused on boom stuff and whatever running Harry had to do?
Do you want to go first, Harry?
I don't think he's there.
I don't think he's there. Oh,
there.
Is he back?
Is he back?
No,
okay, I'll go.
You go.
Do you want to go in the Do you want to go in the meantime, Peter?
Yeah.
I will go. So essentially, I kind of obviously, the actors, they did deliver lines, differently to how they were planned, and that was something I'd expected because it's just part of the process. But I think I was very cognizant of the fact that I needed to just focus on the set job I had. So I'd already written the script by that point, and then I sort of just had to hand it off and let it be taken care of by Sam and the actors, because my responsibility was to look after the sound on the set. So I just had to focus on that and kind of cut myself off from my own sort of perceptions about how the lines were delivered versus how they were written and that sort of stuff. So it was, I was just really focusing on the sound.
Sure.
You did do, though, a lot of on-set quick rewrites, which was quite good, though.
Oh,
do you want to talk a bit about that?
Right on the spot.
Yeah. So essentially, because we had some issues regarding locations that weren't going to work out for the scenes we needed, and scheduling issues, and so essentially a lot of the script had to be cut and reworked, and that there'd be days where we'd turn up and kind of find this out on the day. So Sam just quickly asked me to kind of rewrite a scene or write a new scene, and then we'd just shoot it straight afterwards, essentially.
Sure.
Because the thing about Skinwalker, if you think of the difference between Skinwalker and Home Fires, and then anything after that, Skinwalker was really a big test.
Sure.
Because I had just finished Home Fires, and I wanted to do something, because Home Fires was practically almost all me, and my editor came in occasionally to help with the filming. But Skinwalker, I really wanted it to be a test, so it meant that we didn't really actually have any budget for this one. This was purely we find these locations that we know we can get, and we do some shooting.
Go out in the woods and film.
Yeah, we go out in the woods. It was meant to always be like one of those slightly sort of, what would you say, sort of sci-fi movie type pieces.
Sci-fi
not taken seriously, and that's always good, because you don't always want everything to be serious, otherwise it does your head in.
Yeah.
But that meant that because a lot of the actors were friends on this particular film, rather than sort of independent professional actors or whatever. Schedules were a little bit all over the place. But what you need to be able to do is think, well, okay, but what can you use? Unfortunately, there's a few people that I know who say, oh, you shouldn't compromise, but unfortunately, you need to compromise in every situation, unless you have millions and millions where you can have every fine thing. Yeah, or unless you because everyone needs something out of it. So I think it went well, but you got to sort of have that. What would you say? Sporadic nature to be able to think. Yeah, to be able to think. Okay, it's okay. Something's happened, but how can I slightly change it so it will still work for the final result. And I think, we had to do that a couple of times in the filming process, but, we still managed to make a film out of it, and that's what matters. And it was, after all, a test. So
cool. I'm just going to ask you a couple of things, and then you can rant about those.
I'll finish ranting.
Well, now you get to rant some more.
All right.
I'm just going to go and fill my glass up because I am dying. But whilst I do that, so Sam, two things. One, discuss your favourite day on set and why was it your favourite day on set, because you were there for everything, being the director. And then secondly, why did you cast the cast that you chose? I think that's a good question to ask.
For Skinwalker, yeah?
For Skinwalker. I shall be
okay.
back in a second. Go
right, so my favourite day on Skinwalker. This is difficult. Weirdly enough, it might have been the last day, and again, like Peter, not because it was the end, but I thought it was really fun because I knew by then that I had all the elements that I needed to make it work. I also quite enjoyed, it was like almost, we were sort of doing some quite cool things where we'd drive over to the woods, and it was just about getting dark. So it was quite exciting to do a lot of the shots for this one. So I really enjoyed that day. Funny enough, I'm not really a sun type chap. On a lot of the days apart from this day, it was boiling. So I was quite happy that on the last day it wasn't. Because I'll tell you what, that's why my monitor is now wireless. Because when you're in the scorching heat in the middle of a field somewhere with about 12 actors, 3 crewmen, and some other bits and pieces, and you've got this long wire connected to your monitor, and you're far away, sort of in the barley, cooking like a chicken in the oven. You just
I'm cooking like a chicken right now.
Yeah, I'm almost just like, it gets a little uncomfortable. So I enjoyed that last day. But obviously there are other moments in the film I enjoyed. But I just, I always like to know that I have all the elements that I need, and I just felt like it was a nice day. Thought, cool, I've got all the elements I need. It's been a fun shoot, and it's not taken as long as Home Fires. It took, I think, Skinwalker was about 3-4 months.
Yeah, the summer.
Yeah, it was about 3-4 months. That's not too bad in the whole scheme of things, considering Home Fires was 2 years.
2 years. 4 months compared to 2 years.
Yeah, so it was nice. I liked it because it was a small shoot. It didn't have to be taken seriously. And what was your other question? Sorry, so it was the cast.
So why did you cast the people that you cast? Just curious about. I think I've asked you this before, but I'm sure people would like to know. So
so a lot of the characters in this film are like adventurers. It's almost like it's a bit like King Kong in a way, which is one of my favourite films, because I like the idea of all these sorts of these adventurers going out and almost discovering all this quite eerie sort of wilderness and adventure and such. And I quite liked. I almost quite like the fact that all of the people I cast were from different areas. Because I wanted it to be a diverse cast, not just for the sake of it being a diverse cast, but the sake that I just think it suited. You got adventurers. They're
from
not
all over the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a bit of a strange thing because of age. You wouldn't have that many, but either way, I think that's going a bit too. Yeah. I think that's going a bit too. But you do
have a lot of diversity. You had me, who was an Asian British. You had Natalie, who's from Europe. You had Scott, who was from the north of the country. Joe and George, who
Well, Joe and George, because George is a bit more posher and a little bit more upper class, and then Joe is a bit more sort of cockney, a bit more sort of street wise.
sure.
So I quite like that, and I mean for the rest of the cast, there's only really like two more. One of them is Colin, and I just bring him in a lot of things because he's a really nice guy. He's also happy to do it. Anything. I mean, he's very skilled, so he'll just do it. And I like people who have that mindset.
Yeah.
So I brought him in as the barman, as like a small little cameo for him. And the only other actor I had was Harry Wells, who was my lead on Home Fires. But actually, he was away. I really wanted to maybe have a role for him in Skinwalker, but he was unfortunately away. He was going around America at the time, but
Sure.
he just got back right at the end, and I thought, okay, well, he's back, so what I could do is maybe give him a
brief cameo.
Yeah, a brief cameo. It really is brief. I mean, we shot a lot with him.
There was like 2 seconds of him, and
yeah, we shot a lot with him. But here's the thing: when you get to the final edit, like I had about 40 minutes, and in the end, I put that into about 8 minutes.
Yeah,
so
8, 9.
That just shows, it's good for something to be nice and compact. But
Sure.
I just like the diversity.
Nice.
Also, everyone's really nice as well.
Yeah, I found that everyone was, nice and caring. They were all good at what they were doing.
And reliable.
Yeah, reliable.
I mean,
a lot of people.
There were a few things here and there, but for the most part,
on the whole, it was a good job done. And I keep saying this, but you guys were, there for me because I was going through quite a rough summer actually. So I shout out to these poor boys. Freddie McLennan and Jack Howie, who were two of my mates from rugby, Seven Oaks Rugby Club. They sadly passed away due to different reasons on their holidays. And then I had another mate pass away shortly after. And I was also away from my girlfriend at the time, so I was going through all sorts of shit. So doing that film that summer, for the majority of that summer, was a fucking godsend. And, it helped me out, good distraction to, help me, not forget about my girlfriend at the time, but, push it to the side and focus on the story at hand, which was the film. And then to help me sort of focus on other things and not forget about my mates, but, not let me, break down on set every 5 minutes.
It was good for you to get out and because it was mostly outside as well. So nice.
And even on days that I wasn't there for, like if I wasn't acting for the whole day, I'd still turn up like bright and early in the morning. It'd be like, Sam, I'm outside your house. I'm just in my bed, fuck's sake! And just like you get up and we're like, oh, you always do this 5 minutes. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Seb was always one of the earliest.
Even though I wasn't supposed to be there until like the end of the day.
I get the call. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
I'm outside your house. You said half an hour later. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I need to get up properly, but Seb was always around when I was. Seb always started when I was still slightly in bed. Let's just say that.
Oh my god, yeah! I'd always turn up outside your house, and I'd be like, "I'm here," and you're like, "I'm literally in bed." I'm like,
I left him outside. I said, "Just give me 2 more hours."
yeah, give me 2 hours.
You're that early.
I'd just mong about outside your front gate. Yeah, I do feel bad for you when it does happen, because I'm like, sweet, let's get out of the house, keep me distracted. Sam, I'm here.
I don't mind.
Bruh, I'm in bed. Oh, sorry, man.
You're lucky I'm awake sometimes, because sometimes I can sleep right through.
God. Well, the thing is, I see you're online on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, if he's online, he must be up. Hey, I'm outside. Bro, give me like 2 days. Give me 2 days.
Can you give me 2 decades, please?
Yeah, give me 20 years. Yeah. So, just a quick question for the whole of you: was it? Because I can't remember because I'm losing my marbles due to lockdown. But
Aren't we all?
but was Skinwalker filmed throughout the summer? Because I remember I had to go to America to meet my ex, and then during that time that I was gone, were you filming, or did you stop until people got back? Because I swear that time was also busy for other people as well.
Can I be honest with you? I do not remember.
Neither do I.
Fair enough.
This sounds funny. I remember more about the shooting of Home Fires than I do Skinwalker.
Well, I mean, I suppose you did Home Fires over 2 years, so there's a lot more to remember. But
I did, and also, I mean, if I'm being honest, I had quite a busy year as well, and that was right at the end of Home Fires as well.
Yeah.
So it's
you were still working on 2 films at the same time.
I was working on 2 films at the same time, but the reason I did Skinwalker as well, not just because of a test, is because I wanted to shoot something, because I got a bit bored in the post-production stage of Home Fires. So it was still all going on at the same time, but I wanted to, do something that was, different. So.
Sure. Moving onwards to the next project then, or the current project, or the one on hold project. Steps. So I have to address this before Harry glitches out again.
Guys, my sister's with the router.
Oh, okay.
Fucking hell, the bloody router. So you get a nice cheeky cameo as a hoodlum, yeah?
Me, yes, hoodlum smoking hoodlum.
Smoking hoodlum, I love it.
I think,
full range of my acting talent.
Full range. So, what do you do on this film, if you want to tell people?
Oh well, I walk down a alleyway constructed in Sam's back garden, smoking a cigarette.
Okay,
as the usual chavvy self of mine does. I narrowly avoid getting thrown up on by part of my gang, and after that, the main character, played by Harry again from Home Fires, bumps into my ill mate, and they have an exchange, and we'll go off in our separate directions.
Sure. And as a crew member, are you doing anything on this project?
Yeah, so I'm not a runner from heaven anymore.
Right. Have you moved onwards? Better things?
I have. I've moved upwards.
And what are you doing this time?
A lot of set photography, behind-the-scenes video.
Sure.
Cast, crew, maybe some promo stuff if we get in the future. Just what Sam tells me to do as well.
Okay, cool. Nice one. Peter, what are you doing on this project?
So I'm the sound man again. I've also done a little bit of script writing work. So Sam has got a pretty clear story of what he wants, but he's asked me to do a bit of the dialogue work for it.
It's alright, screenplay stuff, yeah.
So I've done a little bit of that, but my main role is a sound man on it.
Sure.
There's been a few advances as well, hasn't there, Peter, in the sound on this particular film?
Yeah. So I mean, since I on the last couple of projects we worked on with me on the sound, it's kind of been my sort of training exercise as a sound man.
Sure.
So I've kind of been learning it as we've been going along, and as we've got to this one, I've kind of learned a few more of the necessary tricks you need to know, like how to label the files on the device and all that sort of stuff, because it's they're funny things, sound devices, actually. They're
oh my God,
surprisingly, they're quite, I mean, there's no sort of frame of reference for them with any other form of regular technology. They're quite complicated.
They're difficult.
Oh,
they are quite difficult until you learn how to use them properly. So that's something I've learned how to do now.
Nice one. I don't want to focus too much on this project simply because I'm sure I'm going to do individual podcasts with all of you, which means that this will be the main focus on one with Sam. So I'm not going to talk too much on steps. so I'm going to move swiftly onwards, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm also aware of time. We got 20 minutes till 6 at the moment.
By the way, just to let you know, we don't have to like cut off at 6 or anything. That was just like a rough
Okay,
kind of
sure.
rough.
Peter was just going to go boom, boom.
Yeah, just right, Peter, back off. Sam, let's continue. No. I just want to make sure it's all good with you guys, that we keep going for a bit. I don't have too many things left. Just a couple more topics, and then some questions, and then goodbye. So, first things first. As I said, I don't want to go too into depth into these things because we'll talk about them individually on your own podcasts. But at the moment, first things first, Harry, we are co-writing a film.
We are, yes.
Yeah. So, did you come up with a name for it? Because I definitely haven't.
I've got a working title.
Sure. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm thinking Volta.
Nice.
Which is a term used in poetry, specifically in sonnets, to denote a turning point,
Ooh.
the theme, or the mood of the poem.
Sure.
I won't get too much into it, but it's almost like a change in tone or a change in emotion. Within that, it builds the form.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done much work on it yet, because I still need to talk to you about certain things, but would you say this film's like a noir-y sort of project? Because it's sort of... There's a theme of a detective thing going on. Two of the main guys do something which involves, other people, and, there's a crime thing.
Classic murder mystery.
Classic murder mystery. I was going to say classic.
Rather
What the hell
than
is
what?
classic?
Classic murder mystery.
What the hell is classic? I've gone mad. So yeah. What do you? Because I'm sure we'll both be working on it and directing it soon enough. But I wanted to sort of work with you on something for quite a while in terms of writing. So I was we were chatting away, and we came up, or you came up with this, and we're going to work on that soon enough, people. So keep your eyes and ears open.
Cool.
Moving on to Mr. Peter, Mr. Woolley. You've got a book out at the moment.
I have, yes. Unfortunately, the sort of Corona situation has kind of messed up my promotion plans for it.
Sure, because you were planned to come in on the day of the lockdown and record, and then Bozza was like, "Nah, lockdown," so we couldn't do it in person. But yeah,
that's right. So no, but I when did I put it out? I released it only a few weeks back now, and it's on Amazon. It's available in paperback and ebook. It's called. I've got it on my shelf actually, just here. It's called Clementia's Curfew, and it's a sort of dystopian horror type book. And like I said, I mean, I won't go too much into detail now because we've got other stuff to talk about, and we'll do
we'll do a more in-depth one with you.
But that's if you've got any other questions on it, then let me know. But that's kind of where that stands at the moment.
Nice one. And of course, Sam's working on Steps at the moment. But have you got any plans to do anything else at the moment, or is your one focus Steps?
My one focus is on Steps.
Sure.
But the thing is like the more experience I got with my last couple of features means that it won't take as long.
Right.
I think hopefully the only thing that hinders it is this outbreak, this Corona outbreak. But once this is done, I shall be getting straight back to it.
Nice one. And only because I am mainly an actor and I am vain, as all actors are. Especially for someone with a show with his own name in the title. I I'm hoping I'm going to be getting a little role in this, a little cameo. I want to dig my teeth into some new live action stuff.
Yeah, well, Seb, you'll have to
Wait
to
and
see. You'll have to see. I mean, what's interesting about this one is we brought in a lot of sort of independent. I would say they're sort of independent film stars. So we got a few different people, a few more older cast members in this one. But I do have an idea for you, Seb, but you're going to have to wait and see.
Ooh, nice one. We're going to swiftly move on to some topics that are my sort of shitty versions of voice work and stuff like that. So let's start off with the Seiken world, Seiken verse. Sam started off as the editor for my first film, but also as the voice of Gilbert. And you get the credit of being the director / being the person that got me into directing in the first place, because you were saying, look, get your name out there, get directing, make your own films, and then people can see those, and people will see you in that. And
yeah, it's just fun, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm enjoying it. I've had to do less live action stuff considering I'm at uni now, but I'm doing a lot of voice work, and that's always interesting. I do enjoy doing some voice stuff. But yeah, so you play Gilbert in most of the films. I'm trying to get you back for the next one as well, I think.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask, what's your what do you, if you enjoy it, big if, because I forced you into it, I think.
I enjoy everything with you, Seb. Don't you worry about that.
That's lovely. I'm feeling warm and loved.
As long as we have our fish and chips afterwards.
Of course, fish and chips and a Coke at the pub.
Yeah.
So, what do you enjoy about voicing Gilbert? A Coke at a pub. Voicing Gilbert, who is sort of the AI, the sort of Jarvis of this bullshit world that I've created.
Well, I mean, with Gilbert, I almost saw him as like a robotic Alfred from Batman.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Yeah.
But he's like a mixture
Online
of Hal.
assistant,
Yeah, he's like a mixture of Hal from what's that film?
Oh my god.
2001: A Space Odyssey, I believe.
That's it.
He's like a mixture of Hal and Alfred. So he's just an artificial intelligence butler.
Yeah.
So it is fun to play. I mean, I was, at first I was just sort of doing it as a bit of fun. I thought it was quite fun as well that Seb gave me a little cameo. So I thought that would be nice to do. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It was also very quick, so I wouldn't say I remember too much of it.
Sure.
It was fun though. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah. And once we get our freedom and once we're allowed out again, I am sure I will be at your door saying, next film, let's go. Let's go.
Get it done, mate.
Let's do it. So moving on to Peter. You gave me some notes and you helped me write Betrayal, a Seiken Story, which is... We've got Seiken United, which is coming out on Sunday the 19th, which is quite close, actually, within the next 2 weeks. But you helped me write the one just after that, which is nice, because it's a little break between the two big films that we've got going on. But yeah, you gave me some notes, and it helped a lot, actually. I've followed those notes and I've changed up those songs.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, once going through it, because I wrote those songs, well, I didn't write them, I just took them. And I thought, Ben and I love singing this, so we'll stick it in here.
Yeah.
Let's stick it, doesn't really fit with the story, so we changed it up a bit, and thanks for that.
No, happy to help.
Yeah, I'm sure I will help. I will get you to help me again because I need
Yeah,
it.
no problem. No
Yeah,
problem.
which is great. So then we go on to Harry, who portrays Michael in number 3, and he wasn't in United, which we recorded, but he will be in Seiken the End, which is the next one. Yeah, so you only had a brief cameo in Seiken 3 Restoration, but how did you feel when I was like, yo, I need someone to voice this character, please? You're just like, yeah, just don't use my proper first name, and I was like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know you too well at the time, did I?
No, because we hadn't even finished Skinwalker at that stage, I don't think.
I
No.
think you cast me for that. You cast me for that role on a walk down to the train station.
Oh my god, we went to
we were both fairly
Spoons,
pissed.
and yeah.
Yeah, we got a bit.
And I was like, yo, you should be in the next film of my thing.
Like, yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And
For
then
sure.
and then I held you to it, and you were like, oh god.
Yeah, you haven't let me out yet, bro.
Yes.
I did those lines in my lunch break at work.
Oh my god.
How professional I am.
How professional, I love it. At least you got it done. Some people don't.
Yeah. I mean, it was 2 lines.
Oh my god, yeah. It was a cheeky little
Yeah.
cameo for 2 lines.
Really hard.
Featuring Harry Coleman. Yeah, so that's that topic. Then we go on to Protectors of Time, which is a new audio show that I'm doing, and I have to say it's been an amazing ride, because I am almost now at the end of season 1. I am 4 episodes from the end.
Nice.
Which, yeah, so I'm am I 4 episodes from the end? No, I'm 3 episodes from the end. Which means we are almost done with season 1. Which is quite extraordinary, because there's 21 episodes, and I started the pilot in early December, which all 3 of you are part of. Harry is part of the main cast as Spaceman Steve. Spaceman Steve Mason, who is the ship's engineer. And then Sam is a character called Director Bennett, who is the head or the co-head of the Time Bureau, which is this organisation which pissed my character off, which made him leave and start the whole season. And then Peter played a little cameo role as a professor, and then you actually return in season 2 for another episode where we flesh your character out a bit.
Cool.
Which would be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all 3 of you will return, I'm sure. Well, I mean, Harry definitely will, because he's the main cast. I don't have that many actors.
Yeah, for the long run.
Oh, mate, Spaceman Steve is a legend. Yeah, so, I mean, apart from me forcing you guys into it, like, did you enjoy working on Protectors of Time at all? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Peter only had a couple of lines. I'm sure you didn't really mind.
No, it was fun. I mean, like you said, I think I had literally 2 lines, didn't I?
Yeah, 2 lines.
So it was not like it was a particularly difficult role. But,
Yeah, you got a bigger part in season 2. I've got to say, this
okay.
1 episode you're in, you're in it quite a lot.
Well, no, but it was fun to just read through it and just record those two quick lines. And I suspect, I did I think 4 or 5 takes for each one. I suspect you just listened to the first one and chose that.
No, actually, because a lot of the people who do these lines, mainly the main cast actually, because they're not used to doing voice stuff. They're all theatre actors, most of them. Apart from Harry, who I forced into it, and then one other guy who's a film actor as well. And the film and the theatre actors just they just do one take of that line and then they just do the whole scene and just read through it and they're like, should be good enough, which is fair enough. It's only a fun project with mates, but these actors are trying to be a bit more professional, as am I. So yeah, they only do it once, which is fair enough. But with people like you and Sam, who are actually a bit more professional with things like these, that you give me different takes, which I like to call like normal, either excited or hyper, and then full Skeletor scary mode. Yeah, so it ranges between those three, and you two give me a lot of various takes, which is great for me because then I can choose the best one for the character, which makes it even better rather than just having one version of those lines that you just send off. Yeah, but you two are great with that sort of thing, and Sam does the same in the Seiken films as well. So you guys are always great with stuff like that, and as I say, there's always options to return because this show is about time travel, and that means we can go anywhere in time and pick you up. You could even play different family relatives or whatever. Yeah, but I will mention that Harry returns as a main character for the next season.
Don't you know it?
Oh yes, Spaceman Steve's big in this one. Sam returns for 2 or 3 episodes, I think, in season 2. One at the start, one at the end, and one bang in the middle, which is amazing. So when people are like, where's this character gone? He appears. And then, where's this character gone? He appears again. And then it's the end of the season.
Basically, I'm John Cena.
do, 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 do. I have to do that every time someone says that name.
John Cena. It's the only different.
Out of nowhere. So, yeah, and Peter's got, I think, episode 5 or 6 is the one which revolves around your character a lot. And then something at the end of the episode happens to that character which makes him, or makes his disguise become someone else. So you've actually been someone else this whole time. Which is a good storyline, so I won't spoil that. But yeah, so I have to say thanks for all appearing in the pilot, because that then in turn pushed off my series into fruition. And yeah, and now I've got 3 episodes till the end of season 1. And then we'll have a nice month or 2 hiatus, and then we'll start on season 2. And there's going to be a lot of change in season 2 for certain characters, I have to say, people listening. So yeah, so that is my last sort of topic of films. I just want to talk about one more thing before we go into some questions, which I hope you don't mind. So the industry that we have chosen is quite a hard game, boys. Why do we do it? Let's start off with Sam. Why do we do it? Why do you direct? Why do we do it?
Well,
it's such a hard world.
Well, in a way, okay. So I started off in the acting industry, and I did a few extra roles, but I just wasn't really a fan of well. They don't really, or at least the films I was on, they didn't treat the extras very well.
Sure.
And I just thought, it's not very on. I thought, if I was a director, I would, be much better. I'd be much nicer to people. So what I decided to do, I mean, bear in mind, I have been also making films on the side since I was like 6, but they were obviously very amateur back then.
Sure.
It's just something that I love. It's I'm not good at anything else. So it's literally, it's just something I love. It's something that I know I can turn into a career as well. And being, the difference between being an actor and being a filmmaker. Now, all I will say is that it's very, very difficult, and I found this out, to be an actor unless you're sort of got six pack and all sorts, those sorts of things. People are
looks
are
fucked me
very
over.
judgmental on how they cast, and they say, "Oh, the industry's changing," but I don't believe it is. People still cast that way.
Yeah, no, casting fucks
so-
me over big time.
Yeah, so I wouldn't. I felt like I actually have better skill as a filmmaker than I do an actor. Also, it's much easier to make income out of, because you can film can be in different sorts of directions. You could do an advert for someone. You could do even film a podcast, for instance.
Yeah, for sure.
Call me Seb. I mean,
Cheeky little plug. I like that.
so I mean, yeah, One My Media, Sam Weeks.
Oh, I love that.
I was about to give my email, but then actually I thought that was a bad idea.
I will ask for social media handles at the end if you don't mind. If you don't, then don't. say them.
Yeah, social media is fine. Maybe just not the emails.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it really. I mean, it's also down to a sort of a childhood hobby as well. Like, I used to love it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think in a strange way, real life is boring. You want to
110%.
Yeah, you want to be able to go beyond what you think is possible in the realm of just normal life. You want to say I am a spaceman, or I'm going to this world.
Steve.
Yeah, Spaceman Steve. Old Harry.
Spaceman.
But no, yeah, that's basically it. It's something that I've always loved.
Yeah.
Something I know that I can make a career out of. And yeah, I do really, really enjoy it.
Yeah. Fair enough. I have to say it's the same for me, and I love doing it. But I remember back when I was a kid, when I was starting acting, because I was a musician first, and then I went into stage stuff. And I remember doing a musical once, and I can't remember what it was. But I remember the cool kid in school who was like, the oldest kid who was the coolest, He came up to me one day in a corridor and he was like, "Yo, you're amazing in that part." And I was like, "Oh, great, thanks." And as
Go on. What did he do to break your heart, sir?
No, it wasn't him that broke my heart, but it's like, as a person who goes through shit, as we all do, depression, anxiety, whatever you have, it's like, I was like, oh, I've cracked it. People don't like me for me, but they like me for playing different people. So, being an actor, I was like, if I play someone else who's not myself, then people will start liking me. And that's why I did it in the first place, and then I was like, that sucks. And then I started becoming myself a bit more. But
you know that we're better friends though, Seb.
Oh yes, 100%. You
don't
boys have
just be like,
helped
"Oh,
me
Seb,
through
put
a
on
lot
a
of
character."
Yeah, no, you boys have helped me through a lot of stuff, and as this group is so rightly called, Cool and the Gang, which I am a new member of.
Yeah, I brought him in, guys. I'm not sure if you saw.
Yeah, but yeah, I love the calls that we do have. I know people are busy, like Peter and Harry or Sam, whatever you're doing, but at the moment during lockdown, apart from whatever I'm doing, if it's coursework or writing scripts, I always enjoy these calls because we start off talking and then Peter just starts on with the filters, and then Harry joins in, and then I'm like, "Oh, yo, it's Indiana Jones. Oh, Pepe the Frog's here. Oh, what's going on?"
My favourite one's Pepe.
I love Pepe. I think I've got a picture of you as Pepe, which is great, Peter.
Right.
Oh, I had to screenshot. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, no, I love the calls that we do, and even if not all of us are there, if we have individual calls, all of us talk individually. So, I love you guys. You guys helped me through a lot of shit, so thanks.
Thank you, Seb. Same with you, man.
It's very kind of you to say, Seb.
Well, I mean, don't be modest, guys. You helped me through a lot of stuff, so yeah, love you, boys.
We help each other, no?
Exactly. I'm just gonna pause for a second because I have a feeling I'm gonna sneeze. We're gonna move on now to fan questions, which be from some people that I know, and these may not apply to all of you, but some of you can certainly say. So, this is for everyone. What are your thoughts on working for the company One Mind Media? So let's start with Harry before he disappears.
Oh no!
Oh no! Peter, what do you like about One Mind Media?
Oh, hang on, is he back?
Is he back?
Let's have a look.
Entertainment?
Oh no, not really.
Just slightly, no, yeah.
Oh, he's gone. Okay. So I'll start then.
Yeah, you go for it.
He's back.
Peter, you just go, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so I mean, so far it's been good. I suppose really we haven't really had that many projects so far. It's been about 3 or 4, I think. So, but on all of those, they've all gone quite well.
Yeah, and they're beautifully made from everyone in the cast. Yeah, like you're great at writing and being sound guy, and you know how the bloody thing works, which I swear only you and Sam know how to use it. So that is amazing. And that just shows how much experience you have, because you do a lot of stuff, don't you? As well as stuff like this with One Mind Media and helping people like me out, but you do a lot of things as well, which are professional and stuff. So
yes, I mean I it's not the only. I've worked on a number of other film sets before. Meeting Sam and getting involved with his company, and I actually met him through. I think he mentioned at the start of the podcast that's actually how I met him through a fellow colleague on one of those sets. He introduced me to him. I've enjoyed every film we've worked on, or every small project, whatever it has happened to be, and I think it's showing a lot of promise for the future.
Nice one. And while I'm asking it at the same time, what are your thoughts on big man director Sam? Because it's his company. So what's it like working with Sam?
Remember, Peter, I'm right here.
I'm right here. I will fire you.
I'm right here, Peter.
Well,
this is a bit of a strange question because I'm right here.
So you get to listen in. It's fine.
All right.
I can neither confirm nor deny the question.
I'm just saying you might not be completely truthful.
You can be.
No,
I would get offended.
No, it's always been good. I think it's
you
funny
got in touch
because
with Sam, so I'm assuming you found him whatever online or however you found him.
No, so I got given his phone number by someone else I knew.
Right, okay.
So I actually hadn't seen it.
Hassan.
Yes, Hassan. He gave me. We met at the.
I've heard stories.
Me and Hassan, we met at the premiere of a music video we were both on the set of.
Oh right. Okay.
And we got chatting over drinks before the showing, and he was telling me, he knows this director who's from the same sort of county as I'm from, and he offered to give me his phone number, and so I said that would be really helpful, and I didn't phone him up. I texted Sam telling him who I was, and it was probably a strange text to receive from a stranger at the time, but I texted him telling him who I was and asking if he wanted to meet and discuss possibly working together on some film stuff, and he texted back, and then we ended up meeting in Wetherspoons in Sevenoaks, and we had a chat, for quite a long chat. We were talking for about 4 hours or something about, films, the film industry, how we both got into filmmaking and what our background was and stuff. And a few weeks after that, he called me up again and asked if I wanted to help on this scene with Colin for Home Fires.
Right,
and that's the scene I'm in, where I play the journalist. interviewing him.
In terms of timeline of Home Fires, how far was this into filming? Was this right at the end?
Yeah, it was at the very end of it. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah. It may have even been the last. Was it the last scene that was filmed for it, Sam?
This was the last ever scene that was filmed for Home Fires.
Yeah.
Oh, you made the cut, Pete. You made the cut.
I know, it just been under the wire.
I have to say though, it's
It's because of the beard.
I know. I do have to say, from my point of view, it's one of the best decisions you've made, because that means we all get to work with you, and as I say, you're all three of you are legends. So great choice of messaging. Anyway, so moving swiftly onwards, this is a question for Sam.
Okay.
Why do you call your company One Mind Media? Because
Why do I call my company One Mind? It was actually, funny enough, because before I had all these crew and all these wonderful people that I work with now, I used to do a lot of the stuff just by myself, a bit like how you make your films, Seb.
Sure.
You know, just a one-man
Starts
person.
with one.
And it was actually my brother's idea to call it One Mind Media. He said, why don't you call it One Mind Media, because it is all from your mind.
Sure.
And I thought, okay, good idea. And
from your mind, one.
It started about, what would you say, sort of I think in 2016 is when it officially started, and so far it's been going very well. I mean, the only dilemma I really have now is, because it's gained a little more traction, is the name, because obviously it's not just one mind anymore. However, I've come up with a slogan that is "We think as one," so it changes up what it means. Because I don't want to change my logo, because that is what my logo has been for the last 6 years. I can't change it or anything now. But I've just changed the meaning of it. So it's One Mind Media. We think alike. So it's just basically saying that we all get along, we all have the same mindset. So that's why it's called One Mind Media. So it can mean lots of different things, but now that's what it means.
Fair enough. I wanted to ask Peter, because he is a jack of all trades.
No, he's Peter, not Jack. Ha
That actually made me laugh, and I should be ashamed of myself.
It's the lockdown.
So Peter, you do a lot, and I mean, you're a writer, you're an artist, you are a photographer as well, if I'm right.
Not really. I mean,
okay.
False information.
I do amateur
false
photography.
news, fake news.
Throw him off his own show.
My last guest said that, actually. My last guest was like, I'm going to take over your show. Oh, man. So both of you have said that now. So I'm like, right, my own show is taken away from me after 5 episodes.
Wow.
What a shit time to be a talk show host. So you're a jack of all trades. You're a writer, you're an artist, you are the sound guy on Sam's films, you've been extras in things, you're an actor in Home Fires. There's 2 parts, which is 1, what do you enjoy doing the most? And 2, what do you do the most? So which job do you do mostly, and then what do you enjoy the most?
What I enjoy the most is the writing. That's kind of always been my sort of main focus. I think when you're working in the film industry, the earlier starting levels, it's always the case that you have to try out a lot of different jobs, just because it's the nature of it. You've got to kind of you've got to do a lot of stuff, because there's not necessarily a lot of budget to hire that many people. So, the writing is always been my main focus, and it's as far as what I do the most, it's what I do the most for my own projects, obviously, because I have my own small projects as well that I do. Like my book, for example. But as far as working, with Sam, what I do the most is the sound. So that's kind of my main role on his films.
Sure. And this can be these are quick fire questions, so if you don't want to explain it too much, fair enough. But do you prefer screenplay writing or novel writing?
But no, I don't prefer either. I like them both equally because they're both really different. So it's like it's two completely different ways of structuring a story. It's like a totally different language, actually. So I like them both equally, I think.
And what's harder? I would guess novel, but then again, that's because I don't write novel. But
it is, that is definitely harder. I mean, I'll put it this way: the novel I have published in total took approximately 4 years. And I've done quite a few scripts, and the shortest time it's taken me has probably been about a week or 2 weeks or something.
Same, 100%.
And the reason for that is because it's all dialogue and just short bits of description.
Yeah,
whereas,
you don't need to say, and he said this because his eyes were blue, or
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's
English 101 at secondary school. Why was his eyes blue? Because the writer was depressed.
So that's my answer to that.
Okay. Harry, there is a question from my mate Jamie Weaver, who acts in the Seiken franchise.
Fantastic.
He says, do you prefer writing or being a crew member?
It has to be the writing.
Has to be the writing, right.
Yeah, that's bread and butter. That's what I always come back to. It's what makes money at the end of the day.
Is he breaking up for you guys as well?
Slightly. But we did get writing, so I will take that as a win. That was a very quick fire round question.
We'll dub his audio afterwards.
Yeah. It'll be subtitled, or
guys, just pretend that we know, okay?
It's writing, people. It's writing.
Good answer. Yeah, very interesting.
Very interesting. Right. So the next one is for Oh yeah. So this one's for Sam. From my mate Jazir, who currently voices for Protectors of Time. He says, when you were an actor, so going back to your time as an actor, how would you prepare for a scene?
Well, it's just basically a lot of research, really. I mean, if I'm honest, when you act, you kind of need to play a character that's similar to you in some aspects, because it's just better. It's people will believe it more. So, I mean, the casting is the first thing, and that's not even anything that you need to do. And once you've got that, it's just all about the line learning, all about the research, depending on what type of the character it is. But also make sure, I always wanted to make sure that the characters I played were likable in some way. You don't want someone to be too horrible, but even if they are, they got to be likably horrible, So
Sure,
I always tried to strike a balance, because I used to play a lot of comedy characters, and some of those were villains. But I always tried to strike the balance between somebody who was both evil, but you love to hate them. So I whatever it is, it's got to have an effect on the audience. And I just feel like if it's in a more positive way, which again is for example, someone you love to hate, then that's much better. However, for film, it's a bit different. That's more for theatre.
Yeah.
For film, a lot of people, especially theatre people, put too much into how they say something, and it really should not be thought about as much as it should be, because that's not how people act in real life. They just say it. That's
Sure,
just
yeah, 100%.
yeah, they just say it. I mean, obviously there's intent, and you need to know the intent. But if you think too much about, oh, I should have this facial expression, or I should have this voice, then you're not doing it right for film, because film is supposed to be natural. Again, you could say unless it's like meant to be over the top, but even in that sense, you can't ham up the camera, because unlike theatre, where people see you from a long way away, film, you're right up close, and it just is cringy, if somebody is hamming it up in front of it. So, I went off on a tirade, but that's that really. If I'm honest, I haven't actually acted in ages.
Fair enough.
But still, when I did, I tackled it as professionally as I could.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts and opinions on that.
There's only 2 questions left before we wrap this up. So thank you guys for staying with me so far.
No problem.
So this one is from my pal Hamish Clark. Hamish says, what job, as in film job, so whether it's sound or writing or acting or directing, what job, if any, deeply affected you personally, even perhaps changed you in a permanent manner? So, Pete, do you want to go first? Seeing Sam answered the last one.
It's probably something really simple, actually. Like the first kind of big set I ever worked on.
Oh God, yeah, mad.
Well, this is a good thing. I mean, I worked on as a runner.
Sure.
And I think it's always kind of 50-50 as to how good your experience is going to be on sets. But on that one, that was the first kind of big one I'd worked on as a crew member. I'd done other stuff before, but as a crew member, and it turned out to be like a really, really great set with a bunch of really great people. And I had a great time doing it, and made some friends who I'd still have seen since.
Sure.
And it was fortunate, because if it had gone the other way, as it has on other sets I've worked on, where it turns out to be awful, it might have put me off. It might have put me off working in film. So it was really good to have that, that first experience be a good one. Yeah,
nice one. Sam.
Let me think about that. Well, I don't really. It sounds strange. I mean, I won't mention the films that I was an extra in, but when I first did some extra work, it was literally, the first time I worked on a film. And I wouldn't say it was a bad experience, but I just didn't think it was run very well.
Sure.
If that made sense. And as I say, I won't mention the film it was.
Of course.
But it was one, and also it was one of those, like, films that I think it had at least £25 million to its name. Like, this was a big film, and I just felt, I just didn't think it was run very well, and I was just a bit surprised, and because again, it was my first film, but weirdly enough, it's given me different ideas on, like, sort of pro and con about it. So it made me feel like, okay, well, maybe this is how it should be run, perhaps.
Sure.
But then at the same time, I should maybe take some of what they've done, but then apply my own aspect. So, for example, it's down to things like, so I was an extra. Of course, extras are a side role. They're not used a lot.
But they're essential. They're needed.
They are essential. I mean, you've got to build the world here and there. But
exactly.
I thought it was a bit ridiculous that they give you the call sheet for when you need to arrive at this particular location, which may be about 5 hours away from where you live. But literally at 12 o'clock the night before you have to go. I'm like, I don't think that's right. I think, even if it was maybe the day before that would have been fine. But giving it at 12 o'clock, and I think there was one other job I did. And again, this was, I'll say what this one was. This was, I think, for Justice League. So I was an extra in a Justice League
Oh, yeah,
film
you told me about that.
when Schneider was filming
Schneider.
down in Leavesden, Warner Brothers, and theirs was sent to me at 1 in the morning. The night before I had to go, and I had to get up at 4 in the morning. It was only for a costume fitting.
Sure.
But I was still like,
oh my God, give me more time.
I hope I can make it, because, like, you know,
I might have other things.
I haven't. Well, no, it's not that. How am I supposed to find if it's at 1 at night? How am I supposed to find the time to know where exactly it was? I needed to go and all sorts. So, you know, and the information and things. So I just found a lot of it a little bit strange.
Sure.
However, it's changed me in the sense that obviously now I see how they manage the bigger sets.
Sure.
And I try and apply that. But at the same time, you know, I don't always want to copy people.
Yeah. You want to do your own thing, but you like to take inspiration.
I took some inspiration from some of the directors. I think some of them were very good. You know, but everyone has their different opinion on film. So I would always at least try to make sure that everything is pre-planned to a T, at least a week before.
Sure.
You know, I wouldn't say to Peter, like, a night before, can you come over tomorrow and do sound for me from, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night? So you'd be like, well, that's a bit abrupt, you know.
100%.
So that's what sort of, you know, changed me. And I think overall it is for the better.
Cool.
Because I understood it, you know, so...
So, yeah. Great answer. Very in-depth. We've got one more question, which I want one-word answers, unless the title is more than one word. What film project has been the hardest job for you? Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, Home Fires, because it was so
100%.
big and took 2 years.
Nice one. And Peter?
Probably Skinwalker, just because the crew was so small and there was a lot of work for all of us to have to do.
Yeah, but it was bloody fun though, wasn't it?
It was fun. Yeah.
Well, we didn't mention the bagpipe. Do we have time?
Oh
for
my
the
God!
bagpipe?
I was in Skinwalker. I played a character called Alan, who was another version of Warren from the Beast. And so one of the scenes that ended up not being used was my character was growing a bagpipe out of his head. And, of course, I naturally switched my Scottish accent to this story. So yeah, and I sat in the makeup chair for
on the toilet
his
seat.
bog, on the bog. I sat on the bog, the makeup chair, for what seemed like, you know, an hour or two, and then I was like, sweet, we're ready to roll. Let's do this. And then I was already feeling pissed off because, you know, 2 of my mates had died the day before. So I was like, oh shit. Anyway, so I was already pissed for different reasons. And then this scene didn't take place for another few hours. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But in the end, the bagpipe looked amazing, I've been told. It looked like it had 3 giant penises sticking out of the side, which I have to mention because it did. Which were snorkel bits to help me breathe.
What do you think you were trying to tell you with that prosthetic piece?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Right.
But yeah, so that was an interesting day. And I've already mentioned it, so I'm not going to be scared to mention it now, but I stole the tartan because I felt like I deserved it.
He stole... You've heard it now, ladies and gentlemen. He has stolen a production piece from my movie.
Yeah, sorry future filmmakers who want to hire me. I do that on all of the projects that I work for. I stole a ring off a TV show in Canada that I took. I've taken the tartan from Sam. I was going to steal a bullet from Home Fires, but I completely forgot.
I found one in my pocket the other day.
Yeah,
must
should have been
just
in one of
scooped
my
it up
pockets.
whilst I was filming.
Yeah, and I stole a necklace from the first film that I ever did, which was Hollow Earth, and it had a wizard on the end of the necklace, and I play a sorcerer in that, so I stole that. And nobody questioned me because I walked out with it on my neck. So, yeah. So that's the end of the fan questions, people. So I'm gonna say, can we have your social media handles? So Twitter and Instagram mainly. So
Sam?
Sam, Peter,
Could you start first, Peter?
Yeah. So my Twitter is Peter Woolley 2. That's PeterWooley 2. And then my Instagram is Peter Woolley 6.
Peter Woolley 2, Peter Woolley 6. Was 2 taken up on Insta?
No, I can't remember.
Okay, cool. So that's Peter Woolley 2 for Twitter and Peter Woolley 6 for Instagram. Sam?
So for my Twitter, I mean, I hardly use my Twitter, but it's simply, if I may, that's how I hardly use it. I just need to check what it is. It's at One Mind Media SW.
So that's One Mind Media and then SW for Sam Weeks.
Yeah, so it's at all as one, no spaces. At One Mind Media SW, and the SW is in capital.
Perfect. And then your Insta?
So my Instagram is what I mainly use. That's director_Sam_C_Weeks. Or if you want the short version, Director Sam C Weeks.
Sweet.
You'll find me.
So
just one more thing. Sorry, Sam. Just one more thing. I feel I should say, because earlier you said I do photography, and I said, no, I don't. My Instagram, if you look at it, is all just photography.
Oh, I love that.
You're a liar.
You bloody liar. Bastard.
So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, my Instagram is all photography. I don't do it, but it's all... okay. That's killed me. I thought I'd just imagined you were a photographer when you weren't.
It's because it's all amateur stuff. It's, I'm not as good as someone who puts more time and effort into it.
But they're good. They're great. So, I'm gonna say goodbye after I say thanks to these lovely gentlemen. So, hang on.
Shall we mention that Harry cut off as well?
Harry unfortunately cut off due to his evil, what's it called? His evil connection router.
Yeah, Harry's got bad internet, so we lost him towards the end in case... We're not keeping him silent, we haven't...
we haven't got a pistol to his head or anything. But and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find Harry on social media as well. I won't say it in case he doesn't actually want me to say it, so I won't say anything about that. But yeah, thanks to you three, Harry, who is an amazing crew person and runner from heaven, as he so eloquently put it. So Harry's, thanks for coming on. Peter, you are one of the most dedicated people I know. Oh shucks.
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh. You genuinely are though. You on one of the days of Skinwalker, Peter booked out a hotel to just be closer to set so he could get there and film in time instead of being stuck in traffic in the morning, and that is dedication for a film. So yeah, mate, you are dedicated 100%.
No, I try.
And more so than some of us. Man, I would never book a hotel unless I wasn't getting paid. How bad I am. So that's that. And then you're a great person as well, mate. You're just, a legend, and as I say, you Harry and Sam helped me out with a lot of shit. So thanks to you.
No problem at all.
And then big man director Sam C. Weeks.
Still here.
Oh, I thought you'd given up because it looks like you're lying down now, and I was like, has he done? Is he bored?
No, I'm enjoying the podcast. I'm just chilling.
Mate. Yeah. So, Sam, you're an amazing director. I've worked with you since 2017 on The Beast, Home Fires, Skinwalker, probably Steps. My stuff, Saken, you've helped me with, so I just want to say a big thanks to you, and you are a great friend, sir. So
thank you very much. You are as well.
Oh, thanks. Once we receive freedom, gentlemen, I demand a spoons, Peter, and a fish and chips and a Coke from a pub, Samuel.
Why, of course,
we
my
need.
good man.
Because I haven't had fish and chips since the last time I saw you. So I'm craving it now. Yeah. So that's that from the boys. To the people at home, thanks for tuning in to this 2 hour and 20-ish minutes of a podcast. It ran slightly over than expected, but hopefully the boys don't shiv me for that. Yeah, so thanks for listening to the rather late programme with Bash Dinsmore. And special guests, Sam Weeks, Peter Woolley, and Harry Coleman. Oh, thanks, guys. It's the first clap the show's ever gotten.
We're your audience.
They're the audience and the guests. How budgeted I am. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks for listening, people. And this will hit the air by next week. I've got a lot of time over the weekend, or the long Easter weekend, to do some editing, so that's that. I hope all of my listeners have a great weekend, and I hope you guys have a great holiday weekend, even if it isn't a holiday for some of you. Yeah, so in the poshest accent possible, because this is the vibe of the show, thank you for listening to the rather late programme with Bash Dinsmore. See you next time.